Chapter 45. No old or new Sangat. All godliness has the same source, and it is found everywhere, in places and in people. So divinity is in everyone, regardless. I have felt personally Guruji's presence in most of my endeavors and engagements too. And recently, I have felt it in individuals who are deeply connected to Guruji. Guruji speaks to us directly or indirectly, but speaks, he does. He always speaks, whether it's directly or indirectly, but he gives us our answers, one way or the other. After a most fulfilling night, Sumi and I left for home, and this time, my dear friend and Guru sister very firmly and almost forcefully urged me to get that health check done. We are still on that health check that didn't happen so far. You must do your karma, Anita, of doing the right thing, and the rest Guruji will take care of. You are not using your common sense. The free will is ours, remember? In the past 1 year, I received 2 reminders from my GP, being registered as a NHS patient in England, to get my mammography done, as it was well overdue. In fact, I had never had it done, so I ignored the notice. I didn't even think that I needed to give it a thought. Instead, I continued attributing my excess weight as well as my exhaustion to the hysterectomy I had just undergone. Sumi reminded me that Guruji's light lives with and within us at all times. Hence, the symptoms of our illness cannot be ignored. The human body is a temple where Guruji resides. So it is vital for all of us to maintain sound health and not to neglect ourselves. It was Guruji, she insisted, who was urging her to elbow me. By this time, I began to feel pestered by her. I wanted to run from her. In my heart of hearts, however, I also knew that Guruji can and does come in any form, and it is he who is urging Sumi to push me. Sumi, Sanjeev and I, along with another friend of ours, Shalini, dined out together one night before Sanjeev, my mom, and my mama and I were departing for Amritsar. At the table, Shalini and Sumi asked us if they too could join us to Amritsar. So all of us decided to fly out for a 2-night stay. On arriving there, we all headed to the Golden Temple at 7 p.m. It was the beginning of May, and there was yet a cool breeze there. In fact, it was almost cold. Sumi and I decided to remain in the Gurdwara while the rest of the clan returned to the hotel. As we sat alone inside, I prayed to Guruji to make his presence felt there. We both sat in contemplation in our own space while imbibing the shabads that permeated our souls. We were both emotional suddenly, and this was always the case when the atmosphere was highly charged. At precisely 10 p.m., Sumi approached me with tears in her eyes and asked me if anything extraordinary had just happened. Before I could speak, she said, "Guruji came, right?" I nodded, teary-eyed, and then she broke down inconsolably as she was overwhelmed by the fact that Guruji's presence was felt anywhere and everywhere once we tuned into him. Since we were both on the same page, we decided to eat the Langar Prasad at 11 p.m. at the Gurdwara before heading back to the hotel to join the rest of the clan. Then I rested for an hour or two before having a shower to head back to the temple. Sumi and I arranged for the hotel bus to transport us back to the Golden Temple at 4 a.m. It was truly a divine moment. and we stayed there till 7:30 a.m., returning to the hotel only for breakfast. All the while, we sat in silence and assimilated the heavenly vibrations that enveloped each individual present there. Guruji's love unmistakably was flowing through each one of us, and we were all in complete harmony and sync. He had blessed every moment of our journey, and each one of us felt our own connection with him. Before making this trip, I recollect thinking to myself that I need not go anywhere, as I was very much at home in Guruji's temple. However, my mother longed to visit her hometown, Amritsar, after several years, and so I felt obliged to go. I had prayed to Guruji to be there on the trip with us, and so it was. The energy of the Golden Temple was both sublime and stirring. Besides a meaningful and pleasurable bonding between my mom, my mama, Sanjeev, and our two friends, I slept more than normal. Sumi again reminded me of the routine health check. As repetitive as it seemed, she kept insisting and then simply booked it a few days after we returned to Delhi. Meanwhile, I attended satsangs at people's homes to inspire the Sangat and to inject faith in them through my own miraculous experiences. I met Kumar on more than one occasion at satsangs. She shares her journey in the following excerpt. Satsang by Komal Ajmani, quote unquote. I am Komal Ajmani, Guruji is our God. To express his blessings in words and talk of the immense love he showers on his beloved Sangat is just not possible. I feel very much blessed to share his grace, and this is the only way we can thank him for his never-ending kripa. I don't feel ashamed to admit that the quality of life that I had before coming to Guruji was very poor, as I was always surrounded by negative thoughts and vibrations. There was a deep insecurity in my life. After coming to Guruji, life took on a new meaning. It was as if some divine light had entered from the dark to make things lighter. There is now mental peace and spiritual bliss beyond words. The drive of life has gone on automatic mode, where Guruji is simply taking care of everything. I have completely surrendered myself to his will. I met Guruji in his omnipresent form. My family and I were going through a terrible phase of life. Our running business got sealed due to some MCD problem. We tried all possible ways to get it reopened, but we lost hope and started a new project. One day, a family friend advised us to come to Barimandir. We were seeking mental peace at that time, so immediately agreed and went with them. That was the turning point of our lives, as it usually is when people, the first time they walk into Barimandir, they realize that this is it. This is the beginning of a beautiful journey, of a new chapter. Once in the temple, we felt completely blessed and relieved from all worldly stress and strain. We visited the temple regularly with no selfish intentions, but to seek peace of mind. But Guruji has his ways and his timings for everything. The lawyer who had completely given up hope called and told my husband that there was a possibility of getting the orders and needed to meet him immediately. In 15 days, we got our clearances and started running our business once again. And that was Guruji's grace and his love for us. My mother-in-law was suffering from a bone disorder, owing to which she walked with tremendous discomfort, and as a result was depressed. Doctors recommended a few injections, but having spoken to some of her friends, she was not convinced. She was also told that the shots were very painful. Time passed by, and we were still visiting Guruji. We were coming to have Langar Prasad twice a week, and Guruji again proved that Langar Prasad is most powerful, as my mother-in-law, without even realizing, was cured and she could walk even better than before. I was also suffering from acute acidity since childhood. I had not spared any treatment for its cure, be it homeopathy, allopathy, Ayurveda, but all in vain. But now it is history, as the Langar Prasad cured me of the problem completely. Imagine having the red chili chutney that Guruji used to give us, which used to burn our tongues, and people with acidity also got cured. Once you are in his fold, problems take the shape of blessings, and all your worries disappear in his celestial aura. My husband and I attended a satsang in Sainik Farms. After taking Langar Prasad, we went to take Guruji's permission to leave. When my husband bowed down before Guruji, his knee twisted and he could not rise up to his feet. The pain was unbearable. All the Sangat gathered around us and tried all possible first aid, but nothing helped. I did not panic at all, as I had complete faith in Guruji that he won't allow anything serious to happen to him. And it is a temporary phase. We went to the nearest hospital at midnight. The doctor on duty gave him first aid and told us to come the following morning to see the senior doctor, as he did feel there was something serious. He was in terrible pain the entire night. I gave him Guruji's divine water with Guruji's pendant dipped in it. We always forget actually, but I remember Narendra Dand actually, one Sangat, very old Sangat, he told us that if you dip Guruji's sarup, the little sarups, into the water, it becomes Amrit. So whenever we're in pain or some sort of migraine or anything, any sort of discomfort, if we dip it and do the mantra jap, it becomes Amrit and our medicine. The following morning, he woke up in the same condition and the pain was unbearable. The minute I closed my eyes and told Guruji that you have tested me the whole night, my belief in you can never shake. But now it is your turn to prove your love for me. I connected with Guruji like a daughter connects with a father. Believe me, not even 5 minutes had elapsed, and my husband rose from the bed, stood on his feet, and started walking as if nothing had happened. I was touched to the core and did not stop crying out of sheer joy and my love for Guruji. He is always there in good and bad times. When someone asks me if I regret not having seen Guruji, my answer is very clear. As that Guruji decides the time for everyone. It can never be by our choice. But if we are successful in surrendering to Guruji, truly surrendering, then he handholds us. His presence is crystal clear. And as we can connect to him at any point of time, he shows his presence in dreams through his divine fragrance, messages from satsang sometimes, though there are no mediators, but we have to be discerning and decide what is actually makes sense, must use our common sense. Guruji used to say, Bar juti utar deote ifsan bar shat kya hai, not your common sense. Life has become so beautiful and comfortable as there are no worries and confusions, as we have all realized the fact that everything in life is by Guruji, for Guruji, and with Guruji. My mom had a satsang at her home, and we decided to cook Langar Prasad ourselves, as Guruji always preferred that. During the preparation, I sustained 90% burns on my palm. There was panic all around, but I was calm as Guruji gave me the strength to endure the pain. I told everyone to get back to Seva and not worry. Time passed by, and we were almost done with the preparations when I suddenly noticed that layer of new skin had already started forming over the affected area. It was a miracle, and everyone who witnessed it was amazed. It was nothing but Guruji's power to change lines on my hands while I was in his service. How beautiful. So, hatte de lakira mein badal dena, main mathe de lakira badal dena, if you just stay in his hukam and love Guruji. He can do anything. He literally rewrites our destinies. Like I always say, before we come to Guruji, everything is pre-written. But after coming into his fold, everything is rewritten. Therefore, the impossible becomes possible. Guruji came in my mother's dream and held her hands and asked her, "Thus तूने कितना जीना hai? Tell me, how long do you want to live?" My mom cried and asked Guruji, "Has my life come to an end?" He smiled and told her, "Ja bless kitta hun." Go, I have blessed you. When my mom narrated the dream to me, we realized that Guruji changed my mom's lifeline by burning my hand. We owe each other and every second of our lives to Guruji. Thank you, Guruji, for everything. Jai Guruji. So that is such a beautiful satsang by Kumar. So many things to take away from that. Most importantly, to stay calm when we are going through the storm of our karmas, to remain calm and to know that it's just a phase, it's a bend and not the end. So I will continue with chapter 46. Strength in submission. True strength lies in submission, which permits one to dedicate his or her life through devotion to something beyond himself. This is Delhi winter. Before arriving in Delhi with my mom in March this year, I had telepathically complained to Guruji that my Delhi home was becoming increasingly shabby since I was no longer residing in it full time. I needed to refurbish it, but only through a genuine designer who had young and trendy ideas, yet would be able to design my place within my budget. After a few days of being here, Harry uncle from the Sangat called and asked me if I would share my satsang at a particular Sangat's home. I willingly went there, and while sharing, I started admiring the interiors of that home. I left the Sangat's home without knowing whose house I was in. In the evening, Harry uncle called again to request me to share my satsang at an NRI home in Greater Clash, and informed me that the girl whose home I went to that same afternoon would be fetching me. As I sat in the car, I asked the girl her name and what she did, something I normally never asked. Sorry, 1 second, I'll have to give it a break for a minute. I sat in the car and asked her name, and normally I never ask what anybody does. But I asked her, "What do you do?" And she said, "My name is Asta and I'm an interior designer." You can well imagine my surprise. I didn't spare a minute in inviting her to my place. And before we knew it, Guruji had bonded us in a mother-daughter relationship. Besides designing my home, we began visiting Guruji's temple together too. We are both compatible and comfortable with each other, as Guruji always seems to be the center of our thoughts and conversations. It is this commonality that strengthens our connectivity to Guruji through each other's faith and trust in his divinity. Now Guruji only connects us to like-minded people who are connected with us, with him. So it's so beautiful, the bond. Yesterday I was in this exhibition, and every exhibitor was Guruji's Sangat. So wherever we went, Jai Guruji, Jai Guruji, it was so beautiful because there is a commonality now which bonds each one of us. So here goes Satsang by Asta Chopra, quote unquote. I am Asta Chopra and I began my journey with Guruji at the age of 24 in February 2010. Before coming to his fold, I would get depressed and my health was not sound either. On entering the temple, I was engulfed by an energy that elevated and entranced me. Within months, I also had the privilege of undertaking seva. My parents at this point did not accompany me as they did not believe in him. But soon they also connected and we started coming to Guruji as a family. Soon after coming into his fold, I was struck with acute jaundice, and that is when my parents truly connected with Guruji. My recovery was speedy and I bounced back in no time. My first meal after recovery was langar at the mandir. After the initial langars, I would get Guruji's darshan in my dreams. He would communicate very clearly with me. Thus began my spiritual journey. My priorities as well as my attitude towards people and situations began to change as I began to feel a deeper connection to my Guruji. He would communicate what was right for me and my soul through telepathy and dreams. My visits to the temple increased in frequency as my inner changes were becoming clearer. My acne cleared through my encounter with a Sangat doctor. Delhi's best dermatologist failed, whereas the Sangat that Guruji put me through was able to cure me in no time. This is how Guruji connects the dots. He is looking out for each one of us all the time, and he knows what is best for us and what we really need. I also underwent several emotional difficulties, which I could not handle earlier. With greater grace and strength, now I could. I developed a positive attitude and began to increasingly attract only good people with positive attitudes. My company improved enormously. I was now always in a good space. It so matters when our vibration changes, then our vibe attracts our tribe. So when we change, the world around us changes. And he really filters out the negative people in our lives and brings in new energy of good, positive people who are on the same wavelength as us. The subtle but the solid blessings were many as my life took on a new direction. The regular seva at the temple and in Sangat homes was an expression of my love and gratitude for Guruji, for taking me into his fold and for always protecting me. Each time I clean the walls of the temple, I feel that he's given me strength, and each time I clean the carved features of the temple, I'm being given the patience. I do believe that we are all allotted a particular seva for a particular purpose, which is so true. And if he had told me to langar bana, I could never do that. So he knew and he knows what seva each one is even capable of. And that seva is actually, it's like fueling our own engine. So it is that engine which drives us forward. So it is cleansing our own karmas, first and foremost. Seva gives me the opportunity to cleanse and purify my soul and teaches me the lesson of humility and humanity as we collectively work in the temple as an expression of our love and devotion for our Guruji Maharaj. We give a drop for the ocean of love that he gives back to us. I am an interior designer by profession, but Guruji, as the divine designer of my life, has carved out a life for me that furnishes my mind, my heart, and with love, gratitude, and compassion. He has embellished my days with meaning and focus that I earlier lacked. I have learned to surrender, knowing that he is the doer and I am merely the beneficiary. He showers me with blessings, and I have learned to accept gracefully whatever comes my way. I know that he's always guiding and protecting me. I speak to him telepathically all the time, like a daughter speaks to a father, and he responds. My peers are still living the life that is void of spirituality, hence on a very different path. I have cultivated friendships with other Sangat members of my age who share the same vision and sentiment towards life. I am in a good space, and I am totally unaffected by the glitz and the glamour of Delhi high life. In a nutshell, on coming to Guruji, I have learned that he gradually moves us away from the negative elements of the world to gently maneuver us towards the positive ones. On coming to Guruji, I find more love in my world that keeps me smiling and my days shining with his sublime grace and love. I do believe that I've surrendered my life to Guruji by accepting every obstacle and difficulty in my life as his blessing. I thank him every moment in my life because with him in my world, I feel I have a sense of purpose and a deep direction. Thank you, Guruji. Thank you always. Shukrana, Guruji. So there we go. We have finished chapter 46. I hope you're still there. If you wish, I can read another chapter or we can delayed for tomorrow, whatever the
No,
Sangat
Auntie,
says.
please read, Auntie. We guys are really enjoying it. If you can.
Yes, 47, a very important chapter on karma. Faith is beyond logic as it comes from the heart, yet it is the only logical choice. Life is never easy, whether you are a king, a queen, an ordinary or extraordinary individual. Guruji once said, Nanak Dukhiya Sab Sansar. The entire world is suffering one way or the other. However, I am a strong believer in karma. The law of karma and its precision cannot be refuted. I also believe that we choose a certain path that enables us to learn certain life lessons. I do believe I signed up for a certain experiences in my soul form and accepted an agreement made at the time that it was most conducive for the growth of my soul. I go through them, Guruji handholds me, facilitates my ordeals, and reduces the intensity and the duration. He gives me the wisdom to know that there is a higher purpose and to not get caught up in the drama of pain, suffering, heartache, isolation, and loneliness. The knowledge that He is with me no matter what gives me the strength to go on. So Sumi finally succeeded in getting me to BALK Memorial Hospital for a routine health check on Monday, 7th of May. And that was the beginning of a new challenge that I needed to meet through the power of my faith and devotion. After 5 long and laborious hours, and Sumi's endless patience of sitting and waiting for me to get through the tests, the doctor approached me for an ultrasound and a repeat mammography. After he carried it out, he asked me to come the following morning for an MRI on an empty stomach. They had caught something suspicious on the ultrasound, but did not state what it was. In my heart, I felt Guruji was protecting me, so whatever he was up to, he was reducing the intensity of my karma. I did have symptoms of chronic fatigue, weight gain, but I felt too blessed to be stressed. Immediately after the MRI, the doctor announced the urgency to carry out a biopsy. So they told me to take a breather and come on Thursday the same week. I was calm, and so was Sumi, as the power of faith minimizes any kind of human suffering. Faith also enables us to accept our karma and to even detach ourselves from the discomfort or the pain that it may be causing us. I was learning to go through the motion by detaching myself from the emotion. In my mind, the need for a biopsy translated into only one disease. But neither Sumi nor I uttered a word, as our submission to Guruji meant don't question, only accept. This was Tuesday, 8th May, and there was a satsang at Asta's place that same afternoon. I reached there at 5, by which time most of the Sangat had already left. As I bowed to our most revered Guruji, I forcefully held back my tears, but could feel the lump in my throat, gently aching. I knew very well that if someone asked me how I was doing, I would not be able to hold back. On eating Langar Prasad, a Sangat member asked me how I was doing. I broke down, and then after a few minutes gathered myself before someone asked me to sit ahead next to Guruji and to share my satsang. I broke down again, but this time inconsolably. I cried a reservoir of tears for an hour or so. I believe Guruji was already cleansing me. I believe he had already healed and cured me a great deal. Thursday, after the biopsy, my entire family was informed of the possible ordeal, and we all went to the Bade Mandir together. I remember this very well, to have Langar Prasad. Leena and Bobby from the Sangat had been there all along with Asta, Hapu, Dimpi for the biopsy. Sumi, Asta, and I had gone for Langar that same evening. And I remember sitting in front of her under the moonlit night beneath the shivling. I gazed up at it for strength. That's all I prayed for, strength and high spirits. I wanted to go through this without wallowing in self-pity. I needed to remind myself that if I was hurting, then Guruji too was hurting for me. The Guru and disciple relationship, we must never forget, is bound together in an eternal clasp. My grip on faith had tightened further, and a need to connect even deeper had dawned on me. Guruji expressed his love for Asta, Sumi, and me by serving us langar 3 times. I was overjoyed, and I knew this was a sign that he was holding my hand. Today it doesn't even happen. Back then, as we were leaving, somebody would again say langar khalo. So we went back. Third time again, we were leaving the Bade Mandir, and again someone said, Ab langar prasad, please khaiye. So 3 times we did a round of langar prasad, which was back then. I don't think it hardly happens today. During the subsequent days, we had langar every day, which was Friday to Sunday. Then came Monday, and my official biopsy report was to arrive on Tuesday. Sumi came to fetch me at 5 p.m. to head to Guruji's temple. She sat in silence, and I knew that she had unofficially called the doctor for the report. I knew my friend well, as her persistence in getting me to go for the health check in the first place meant that she was ardently following the report too. Shabad were playing in the car. I was reflective, so was she. But then after a few minutes, I couldn't resist breaking the silence between us. I popped the question, and I broke down with a response, you know what it is, right? My head spun momentarily, but then I gathered myself in no time. Let's just enjoy the temple. She said, we'll fight it. It's just another battle. The last shred of the karma. It'll be over in no time. Go through it, Anita. And because Guruji is with you, you will sail through it. My brother Sanjeev arrived at the temple, and Sunakshi, my younger daughter, was also with me, along with my other close friend, Vikram Baidyanath. And also some of my other family members. I had forgotten this. My goodness. My Guruji sent the whole army of my family that evening. We sat down to relish the samosa and chai prasad together at the rear of the Bade Mandir beneath the invincible Shivling. No storm could ever move or shake us. The Shivling is the most sacred symbol of the ancient as well as the modern world. It is a symbol of divine creation. Its shape is a representation of the power of Shiva, the Lord of creation, the masculine creative energy, the feminine energy, the seed that is fertilized to manifest the creative power in the dance of the cosmos. The Shivling stood on the roof for at least the past 6 years with the same indomitable spirit. Those who do believe in his unyielding spirit can imbibe his spirit to sail through the inevitable storms that come their way. The sacred stone relates to the heart chakra too, and also to the manifestation of the love energy that resides in all of us. It is also representation of the harmony of the balance of the soul maintained within the balance of the universe. For me, it represented all of that, but most of all, it stood for unconquerable strength that I needed to fight my battle. On Tuesday morning, the doctor at BLK Memorial Hospital gently but surely broke the news that I would need surgery. Guruji held my hand as the doctor gave the diagnosis of all my reports. You have breast cancer and would need to be operated upon at the earliest. This cancer has been in your body for at least a year or more. You are very lucky that the cancer is still in stage 1. It is both operable and curable. You are indeed a very lucky woman, said the doctor. I am not sure how lucky I was feeling at that moment, but the fact that he had shielded me and minimized my ordeal made me feel very blessed. It is said that when you're devoted to someone or something, the object of your devotion becomes a part of you. Your own sense of well-being depends on whether they are flourishing. This makes devotion risky, but also profoundly rewarding. Devotion is loyalty to a promise, vow, person, or mission. It means you are consistently trustworthy and loyal. You are willing to sacrifice to uphold your commitment. It means staying the course, even if the challenges are great. Never break. Always stay within the course, knowing that Guruji is with us at every millisecond of our lives. He knows what we're going through. He is so compassionate and all merciful. Guruji healed me previously of my skin cancer, and he has enabled me to walk through many other emotional and physical ailments and breakdowns. So why would he not do it again? He was there for me then, and he's still there for me today. He will give me the strength and the wisdom to take these small steps to walk through this with positive surrender and acceptance. And he did just that. He really handheld me throughout the surgery and even the biopsy. I recall very vividly how the nurses who were training at that time, unfortunately, kept probing needles into me, and they were not getting it right. They were just not getting into the right tissue. And I remember Guruji's voice. The voice is our own intuition, inner voice, that said, don't get attached to this body. This body is your vehicle that will bring you closer to me. So go through this calmly and accept it with grace. And that is what I did. Even while they were probing into my body with the needles, many, dime a dozen, I was sitting still and doing the mantra jap. And that enabled me to surmount the high mountain. So Jai Guruji, just remember the takeaway that there are so many storms that will inevitably come, but we must remain calm, centered, and we must remain connected to the mantra jap and to the Gurbani. So today, make a vow to ourselves that for 1 hour, we'll sit quietly, undisturbed by our phones and by our family, and really remember him. When we remember him and love him, we feel that love flowing through our hearts, through our bodies, through our cells. And it is the cells that need to regenerate. We must be living with complete self-awareness that we cannot allow negative feelings and emotions to permeate our cells. When that happens, it turns into some sort of disease. So let's relieve ourselves and ease ourselves of every disease. Jai Guruji, thank you so much.
Jai Guruji, Auntie. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sangat ji, for joining. We'll see you all tomorrow. Jai Guruji.